Tonight, we gather in reflection and in celebration of the amazing partnerships built within Keystone and around the globe. Through our work exploring the Listen, Include, Respect guidelines, the development of inclusion guides across the organization, and a renewed focus on proactive leadership, we're embracing the importance of being intentional in our interactions, both as we build partnerships with those who choose to accept our services and with each other as colleagues. We create spaces where all people are positioned for success and supported to participate in a more inclusive and meaningful way with full understanding and respect for each other's rights. We've shifted our approach in how we learn and who we learn from. One of the more exciting developments over the past year is that new employees joining the organization have the opportunity to engage and learn directly from people with disabilities about the provisions of good support and the role of being a support professional as part of orientation. And this is just the beginning. Later this year, employees will have the opportunity to explore psychiatric rehabilitation and recovery with people impacted by mental health disorders and members of the operations education team. Including the perspectives of people with disabilities in the development of our learning spaces, and working together to develop the skill set and presence to facilitate as a team is truly our mission in action. And partnership, not coincidentally, is the theme of our June Summit this year. I'm so excited that tonight you'll have the opportunity to connect with some of the people who continue to strengthen our collective approach and to elevate our services and advance the human spirit. Some of these partners are support professionals who are modeling inclusive practices as inclusion guides and are empowered to explore and expand their leadership potential. We have several 2025 graduates of state and nationally recognized leadership programs here with us tonight. Whether it is an intentionally offered inclusion guide development program or a statewide initiative to develop leaders, these employees are challenging their unconscious bias and stretching themselves to support each one of us to consider how we can do better. We're also thrilled to welcome some of our international team members and external partners who support us to stay connected and active within the larger global disability rights community. So, to that end, I'd like to introduce tonight's first speaker. Joining us from the Tukena Foundation in Finland, with years of experience in the social sector of leadership and development and experience in developing person-centered supports and advocating for disability rights. She has a master's degree in social sciences and is a member of the Human Rights Delegation in Finland. Please join me in welcoming Petra Rantamäki.
Thank you, Courtney, for the very warm welcome. I'm delighted to be here with you, and thank you for the invitation. As told, my name is Petra Rantamäki. I come from Finland, so from Europe, and I work in an organization called Tukena. Tukena means that we are here to support you. The partnership with Keystone means a lot to us because we share common values based on respect for people and human rights. For us, partnership means connecting with others, connecting with people around the world who are taking actions for an equal world, enabling connections for those who need support to make their voices heard, connecting with families and communities, because people live in homes and families and in communities, not in services or for services. Inclusion International says that inclusion is a journey that requires action and commitment. This is what unites Tukena and Keystone. We both have a long history of commitment to equality, and we take action every single day to create opportunities for meaningful lives in communities. But at the same time, as Chuck said in the video, inclusion is also a learning journey. We can learn together and from each other. Good practices, of course, but also much more. How do we ensure people have access to their rights? How do we ensure continuity of support? How do we develop skills and competencies so that we are relevant to people, communities, and society? Listen, Include, Respect guidelines are a practical and shared tool for our collaboration. They give us common direction. As is it said in the guidelines, inclusive organizations know that no one is too disabled to take part. They believe that everybody can be included and take part in their communities in a meaningful way. I'm especially happy that Sue Swenson is here. Tukena was founded by families. I'm also a family member myself. If we want to make a difference in the future, we must involve families. We must give them the opportunity and support to change the world. By supporting families, we also ensure that everybody's voice is heard, especially those who need support the most. So, together we create the future we want to see. Kiitos. Thank you for the invitation. It's absolute joy to be here. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Hernandez. I am the Family Support Counselor for Keystone's Adult Community Autism Program. I provide trauma-informed counseling for the individuals and their families that accept the services in our program.
Good evening. My name is Gio Marquez. I'm an associate teacher for Capital Area Head Start. I teach young minds at our Carlisle, Pennsylvania Center with children ranging from 3 to 5 years old. Using the high scope curriculum, I help develop fun and educational lesson plans that create a supportive environment in our classroom. And I, along with so many others here tonight, am an inclusion guide at Keystone Human Services.
Many of the individuals supported in the Adult Community Autism Program have not been included by others in their community and even in their families. Many have not been treated with dignity and respect, nor have they been listened to in many areas of their lives. This has influenced me to specialize in trauma-informed therapy. I have learned not to focus solely on the behaviors, but rather focus on understanding the individuals we support and what they're trying to communicate through these behaviors. The individuals we support do not live in silos. They are part of a family system, part of a community. It is just as important to partner with families to heal themselves, to heal their relationships with the individuals in our program, changing unhealthy family structures.
While helping to educate young children is a very rewarding experience, the work does come with its challenges. Teachers must be able to be hyper-vigilant while practicing patience every single day. In addition to working with the children in the classroom and building relationships with them, teachers must also build relationships with their families. Most of the time, I am reminded that the people I work to serve come from many different walks of life and have unique perspectives. Appreciating other street corners has inspired me to slow down and to truly commit to understanding differences and perhaps the why for how children communicate and behave. I've also learned that leaning into discomfort and being willing to challenge myself is crucial to having a voice that I can use to help the children I work with feel supported.
Being a trauma-informed therapist, I believe that it is crucial to support individuals to find their voice and to be able to advocate within their family systems, within their community, in order to live the life they want and deserve.
And I have come to deeply understand how critical our work is in inclusion. Not only do I get the opportunity to work with many different people with different backgrounds, I also get to work with children who need customized services and who require extra support. Just like everyone else, these children and their families deserve to feel welcome and safe. Since I am a positive role model in the lives of the children in my room, it is extremely important that I understand my role and the impact my actions have to help them feel included. As an inclusion guide, I understand that inclusion requires one to take conscious action. Applying myself to listen as an ally in my role, my understanding of others has only developed, which has in turn allowed me to create impact by changing my interactions and experiences with others for the better. It all starts with me and those of us who believe in our vision and mission at Keystone. For me, this is how being inclusive truly begins. Now, Jen and I are happy to introduce the next speaker. Dharoti Sharma is Director of Inclusive Development and Engagement with Keystone Human Services International, based out of Delhi. She is multilingual in a total of 5 languages and holds a master's degree in communication and journalism and another master's in public policy.
Dharoti also has 16 years of experience working with national and international organizations of persons with disabilities within the UN on disability inclusion, and she has managed inclusive development projects in South Asia and Africa. Let us welcome Dharoti.
Thank you, Jen and Gio, for that introduction, and thank you, everyone, for the warm welcome. How's everybody doing? Good? Good? So, as mentioned, my name is Dharoti, and I am the Director for Inclusive Development and Engagement at Keystone Human Services International. And as you would have figured out by now from the dress I'm wearing, I'm from India, if you hadn't figured that from my accent already. I know some of us have been misinformed that I was going to say jokes. I'm sorry. That's not going to be the case. If I am funny, it's not intentional. So, yeah, so this is my first time at the June Summit. And when I was told that I will have 5 minutes to speak, I did have a moment of panic. I'll tell you why. Because there's only so much one can speak about partnerships and connections, right? And as Gio and Jen mentioned, I have worked 16 years in the disability space, but I have come from a very different background. My experience has been working with organizations of persons with disabilities, and as they're called OPDs. So what are OPDs? These are organizations that are led by persons with disabilities themselves. So my career started with a lot of demonstrations on the streets and activism. So I come from that background. And a lot of the work that I have been able to do or catalyze in the last 16 years has been because of partnerships and connections. So now I'm here at Keystone because of partnerships and connections. And I have come from the other side of the table, and I'm here to learn. And one of the things and the amazing things about partnerships and connections is that it really allows us to look at different ways of thinking, different ways of doing things. And it allows us to question the status quo. And I've had the privilege of spending some time with Petra, who you just heard. And earlier in the day, she was talking to us about the work that Tukena Foundation does in Finland. And she mentioned that organizations that are in service provision, that are values-driven, that work for persons with disabilities, keeping the people-centered approach or people-driven approach at the core of our work, sometimes we have to question ourselves. And at Keystone, we have amazing work. I'm so impressed. I've been here less than a year, and I'm still learning, but I'm so impressed with the work that we do. But even then, sometimes it's important for us to question ourselves. Are we really doing it? Are we listening, including respecting the priorities of persons with disabilities? And the priorities of disabilities are not only informed by their immediate frames of reference. They're informed by a lot of different things. They're informed by human rights. They're informed by global developments. Rights are universal, and the challenges that we face as service providers, as allies, as partners, are the same almost, across the world. And when we come together, the power of connections really help us navigate these challenges. The priorities that we talk about, it also works both ways. And Courtney mentioned about the side event that we had at the United Nations just a couple of days back. And we presented 2 very powerful videos at that side event from Keystone. And after the side event, we had people coming to us and asking questions. We've heard about Keystone's work. One of my friends actually told me that the first time she ever heard of models of community inclusion was at an event organized by Keystone. So we have a name recall. We have a reputation of having the knowledge of how to do this. And there's a whole community out there who wants to learn from us. And I think that's the power of connection that we need to really build on and leverage. And today we are amidst very interesting times. I've stopped reading the news. So as we live in an era where there's so many uncertainties, there's economic downturn because of the pandemic, there are global changes that are leading to deprioritization of disability rights and disability inclusion. I think these connections that we make across the world, they are the ones that will help us navigate these new realities. Before I close, I would like to leave you all with a proverb. Here comes the joke, the bad joke. This is something that I used to tell all my friends in grad school because they're so much taller than I am, and I would never keep up. So I found this proverb once, and I used to tell this to them. If you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, walk together. And I think our work at Keystone really is about walking far and walking together. And that is why, even today, 50 years after Keystone was founded, our work continues to be relevant. As Petra said, that we need to continuously be relevant to the times. And the June Summit allows us to take a moment to recognize the power of our work and recommit to our role in creating an inclusive and just society for all. So you've heard me talk about connections, commitment, and partnerships, but we have something better. We actually have a video from Moldova. So this is a video of Mihai and Maria, 2 people with disabilities who met in the institution, fell in love, and then they decided to venture out of the institution and create a life for themselves in the community. So Mihai and Maria then helped Mihai and Tatiana. So there are 2 Mihais, so don't get confused. So Mihai and Maria used their connections and through this connection supported Mihai and Tatiana to also follow the same path out of institution and in building a life for themselves in the community. So here's to making more connections, and through those connections lead to actual change. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. And I want to say, because somebody said I speak 5 languages, so I need to show off. So, dhanyavad, shukriya, merci beaucoup. Have a great evening, everyone. And now the video.
Bună ziua, eu mă numesc Mihai Grecu, trăiesc în comunitate, în satul La Poșna din 2017 și sunt căsătorit, am soție și copil și ne bucurăm că suntem și noi în rând cu toată lumea. Eu cu soția am început a prieteni din 2015. Dar în 2017 noi ne-am decis să ieșim noi în comunitate ca orice persoană. Ieșim și noi în rând cu toată lumea. Ne-am căsătorit, am făcut și nuntă, avem și un copil și casă avem și mulțumesc lui Dumnezeu de toate cele câte o leacă. Aici e slavă. Aici sunt frigiderele.
Câte ai tu, băi?
2. Care cu carne, care cu verzături, care țin pătrujel, maravi. Aici pui.
Câte ai?
E undeva cam vreo 25, 30.
Sănătoși, mămâie cumpărat.
Nu? Să nu știu, nu i-am scos din incubator.
Câți ani ai trăit tu la internat?
10. Din 2007 până în 2017.
Da, până în 2007 ne trăit.
Aici în Fincești.
La ce? La casa de copii?
La școala internat specială de la 6 anișoare. La 6
Tu
anișoare.
ești în internat de la naștere, așa?
Da, da. La vârsta de 17 ani ne găsești părinții. Tare îmi place mai mult aici în intrarea în comunitate decât în viața în instituție. Pentru că, vă dau de exemplu, vă dau. În instituție, beneficiare nu poate să formeze o familie, de exemplu. Dar intrarea în comunitate, poți forma și familie, și o animaluță, și faci multe lucruri în societate. Înveți mai multe lucruri în societate decât în instituție. La momentul de față eu lucrez la brutărie și la primărie ca lucrător auxiliar. Și când mai am câte o leacă de timp liber, mă duc la vecinul ăsta de alături și îl ajut la deschidat lemne cu aparatul. Deschic lemne.
Și îți plătești
Da.
ziua.
Pentru mine a fost interesant, a fost interesant să mă ocup cu albina. Și zic, chiar vreau să văd cum omul ăsta lucrează cu albina. Și m-am dus încet și azi o lepțică la dânsul la deal, am văzut, am ajutat, zic de serios, de să fac eu, vreau eu să, de exemplu, să fac. Nu, netale înlămuriești, dar de eu să fac. Adică acum. Și apoi eu m-am învățat pe mine. El m-a ajutat pe mine cu albine, eu pe dânsul l-ajutam la brutărie cu lucru. Prietenii, și pot vă spun despre prieteni, ea ca nu trebuie mulți, 2-3.
Așa.
Și e foarte bun.
Eu mai vreau să te întreb încă ceva, Mihai. Eu știu că cu ajutorul tău, o familie sau două persoane care încă nu erau familie, să spunem așa, din internat, deci ele au reușit să iasă din internat și am tot trăiesc în comunitate. Poți să ne spui alea mai mult despre cazul asta?
Cum i-am ajutat pe dâns și s-a întâmplat că Tatiana a fost o leacă cam însărcinată și decât și-a despertă copilul, m-am gândit la dânsa.
Tu știai că la internat nu-ți dă voie să ai copii.
Foarte corect.
Așa.
Băi, eu nu vreau să-ți promit malea și sarea, dar o să mă stări cumva, pe un timp oricare, o să vă întrețin la mine. Pe amândoi.
Să-i găzduiești.
Vă găzduiesc la mine. Dar acum să aveți ocazie și să aveți voi căsuța voastră, automat vă mutați la cuibul voastră. Asta place, nu-ți place. Soția să ducă sarcina până la bun sfârșit. Și cu ajutorul Dumnezeu, cu ajutorul oamenilor buni credință, noi că l-a ajutat Dumnezeu.
Câți ani nu trăiesc la tine?
Undeva vreo 2 și ceva. S-a dus mai întâi Mihai și a zis că eu vreau să mă duc să caut o casă. Și noi spune, care oameni au avut posibilitate, l-au ajutat. Azi 1 leu, mâine 2 lei și așa mai departe.
Și l-au adunat bani?
Și l-au adunat leu la leu și s-a dus și a procurat casă. Păi el când a procurat casă, s-a dus acolo, a făcut cât de cât o lepțică ca să aibă un alt post, ca să-și poată întreține, să-și aducă soția și copilul acasă. Și când el și-a făcut toate astea, m-a sunat și ne-a spus că Mihai, o să trimit o mașină după soție și a să vii și a să o iei la acasă. Și eu m-am bucurat. Bine, deci...
Crezi tu că ar fi mulți de la voi, de la Bădiceni, care ar putea aduce așa un trai în comunitate?
Sunt. Numai dacă se pui o leacă de efort. Dacă nu pui efort, scuzați-mă că nimeni nu-ți aduce farfurii de bolsă. Omul te ajută numai dacă tu pui efort. Corect zic sau o iau mai jos?
Stay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is our honor to introduce our next speaker. My name is John Bowling. I've been with Keystone since September of 2023. I'm a certified peer support specialist. I always feel weird about saying that that's my job because, as I'm sure many of you feel about your work, it's much, much more than a job. We don't do what we do to make a living. We do what we do to make a difference. The theme of this year's summit is partnership. Partnership is what peer support is all about. I'd like to illustrate that with a story. This guy's walking down the street, and he falls into a hole, and he can't get out. No matter how hard he tries, he can't get out. He looks up, and he sees a priest walking up on the sidewalk, and he hollers up. He says, "Father, Father, I fell down into this hole, and I can't get out. Can you help me?" And the priest says, "Sure," and he pulls out a pad, and he writes down a prayer, and he tosses the prayer down into the hole, continues on his way. The guy's still down in the hole, still can't get out. A little while later, he looks up, he sees a doctor walking by, and he says, Doc, I fell down in this hole. Can you help me? I can't get out." And the doctor says, "Sure," and he pulls out a prescription pad, writes a prescription, throws it down into the hole, walks on his way. The guy's still down in the hole, he still can't get out. Finally, he looks up, and he sees his friend walking up there. And he says, Frank, I fell down into this hole, and I can't get out. Can you help me?" Frank says, "Sure," and he jumps down into the hole with the guy. And the guy goes, "What the heck did you do that for? Now we're both down here." And Frank says, "Yeah, but I've been down here before, and I know the way out." Lived experience, partnership. When we are able to connect with people and say, "I understand," that expression becomes more than just 2 words. It has the ability to reach deep inside people and move them. Creating partnerships isn't always easy, but when it happens, the results can be magic. So in the spirit of partnership, it is my pleasure to introduce my introduction partner, Shanta Mills.
Hello. My name is Shanta Mills, and I am a mental health professional and an inclusion guide here at Keystone Human Services. My work is grounded in both clinical insight and inclusive collaboration with individuals both within and outside of our organization. Too often, systems speak about people rather than with them. Inclusion isn't an add-on. It's the foundation of ethical and effective support that builds trust, fosters respect, and makes collaboration possible. John and I are happy to introduce the next speaker, Sandy Gates, whose work shows that inclusion isn't about fairness, but about effectiveness. Sandy Gates is the Student Assistance Program, SAP supervisor, and a mental health liaison for the Mental Health Service line of Keystone Human Services, and has been with Keystone since 2018. Sandy holds a master's degree and is a licensed social worker working with youth and their families since 2002. Sandy has worked in the world of student assistance since 2007. For 13 years, she's worked as a child and adolescent therapist and also has experience working with youth in a residential treatment facility. Through her work with youth and their families, Sandy knows and believes that partnership with others is vital to the success and well-being of children. Please join us in welcoming Sandy Gates.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shanta and John, for that, and thank you for having me. It takes a village. Most of us are very familiar with that saying when it comes to raising a child and supporting a family. It's a perfect way to describe the work done through the Student Assistance Program and the partnerships that are vital to its success. Good evening, my name is Sandy Gates, and I'm the supervisor of the Student Assistance Program, or as we like to refer to it, SAP, in the Mental Health Service line of Keystone. Our program works with children and teens in kindergarten through 12th grade in schools in the central Pennsylvania area. We work with 67 schools, and our main focus is similar to the mission at Keystone. We partner with schools, youth, and their families to help them identify and find the resources they need so that they can be as successful in school, at home, and socially with their friends. We help them to find mental health treatment, academic supports, and opportunities of their interest at their school and in their community. This takes partnerships. When a student is referred to this program at their school, the team discusses ways to support the student and reaches out to the student's family. With parent permission, we're able to meet with the student, hear from their perspective how they're doing, what their strengths are, what their needs are, and to help them identify what is the best plan for them. That can be in-school supports, therapy, community involvement. And after meeting with the student, we talk with the parents. This gives the parents the ability to also share with us what their concerns are and what they feel is needed for their child. Both the conversation with the student and the conversation with the parent allow them to be in charge of making decisions for themselves and being an active part of what help and supports are given to them. The best outcomes happen when the school and parents work together to help connect the student to what they need and to provide that ongoing communication for support moving forward. A student once identified an interest in being a pilot and learning to fly. One of our consultants had a connection with a pilot and connected the two of them. This year, that pilot reached out to thank the consultant for that connection. The pilot and the student continue to have a relationship and have done some flights together. The student is doing better academically with all A's and reports more positive mental health. Other partnerships that are vital to our program are the ones we have with community organizations. In order to connect students with services and opportunities of their choosing or ones that might be beneficial to them, we have to know what's out there. We talk with therapists, we attend community events, school events, we have agencies come talk with us, we attend trainings. Building relationships with community individuals and agencies, knowing what services are out there, gives us more options to offer to students and families. Some of those places of partnership include help and treatment for those with trauma in their past, those who want social connections, who need help accessing necessities and insurance, academic help, substance use prevention and treatment, church or faith-based places, job and volunteer opportunities, and more. Our connections have helped students obtain job shadowing opportunities, develop and maintain a relationship with a positive, caring adult at school, attend summer camps in an area of their interest, and find a therapist that they connect with. When recommending therapy for families and students, we provide a list of agencies and therapists in their local area, and this gives them the choices and allows them the opportunity for them to pick who they will see and who they will work with. A family we supported was struggling with having their basic needs met. Past conflict in their home and previous services had not gone well. A connection made between our agency and Diacon Family Life Services at an agency event led this family to a connection that the mother wanted, which include family-based services and help with some basic needs. This has resulted in Mom being very happy with those new services and finding them beneficial for her and her family, the school noticing improved behavior from both the students and more communication between Mom and the school. We can't do this work alone. It definitely takes the village of schools, students, families, our community partners, the SAP teams, and Keystone Human Services. Thank you.
Good support to me, it looks like the support that each individual decides. There's not necessarily a blanket answer of what good support looks like. It's every individual has a different metric, a different way that they would like to be supported. Good support is providing the kind of support that the individuals who choose to accept our services want.
Yes, I have learned a lot, including the listen respect guidelines. It helps you to build more trust and get connected to the person that you are supporting. They can control their own lives, and my job, my role with them is to support. I don't have to delegate. I'm just there to support because they can make their own decisions when they want something and they want to do anything. So
the biggest thing I really took from Neo, honestly, was like to understand where we came from. It was amazing to see how like quickly we've evolved to this point and how important it is to realize where we came from so we don't go back. The biggest thing I honestly drew was what the difference between empathy and sympathy. You know, like there was a lot of times that I thought I was being empathetic, and in fact I was being sympathetic in the past, and I was alienating somebody without even realizing it. You know, I learned to understand and then to just give support to try and boost somebody up.
So one of the individuals who chooses our supports, Jordan, who I work with, has been, involved since the beginning of the pilot with Listen, Include, Respect. But to watch him become more confident and more involved, and hear him talk about what he gains from being included in the NEO training and helping to train new staff and being included in that, you really see him just, stand a little straighter and, be a little taller and be even a little bit more confident, and be able to share that with others. And he loves to talk about what he does and how he's helping to train the staff and how that really makes him feel like he's being a part of Keystone, and giving back.
Hi everyone, I'm Jordan. I've been supported by Keystone since I was 14 years old. I am an active member on our Listen, Include, Respect steering committee. Each week during new employee orientation, I also co-facilitate our good support in the role of support professional training. New employees get to learn what good support looks like and feels like directly from someone with a disability. Inclusion is very important. We need to make sure that people with disabilities are heard so they know their voices are important and their supporters can know what's important to them. My work with Inclusion International has helped me to focus on other people with disability who are also supported by Keystone. I am helping them to come out of their shell so they can feel empowered to talk about their experience.
Hi, my name is Karen Wolf. I am an Associate Executive Director with an intellectual disability here in Pennsylvania. I am also a steering committee member of Listen, Include, Respect. My role within the organization is to help to assure that we are providing quality services that support individuals to live the best lives of their choosing. I also focus on helping to expand understanding within the organization so that everyone we support can work and have the opportunity and support to do so if they choose to.
Tonight, we have been given the pleasure of introducing Sue Swenson. Sue is the president of Inclusion International. She leads the organization and makes sure they follow their mission, aims, and strategies. Sue became passionate about disability advocacy because her middle son, Charlie, had profound disabilities. She works hard to make life better for the people like her son.
Sue works with many nonprofit organizations and speaks at global events to promote our shared vision of inclusion. She has worked for many disability charities and has had lots of important roles in the U.S. government. She previously worked under President Biden, President Obama, and President Clinton, speaking out for groups that improve the lives of people like her son.
Please help us welcome Sue Swenson.
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you, Karen, and thank you all for the warm welcome. I love to tell stories about my son. Don't get me started. I have told people my idea of heaven is being handed a microphone and being told, you have 2,000 people sitting out there and you have no time to prepare. Please talk to them for the next 2 hours. If I die and that's what somebody says to me, I'll know I'm in heaven. I will try to keep this more brief, however. Charlie was born in 1982. He died in 2013. He had muscular dystrophy among his labels. Sometimes when I'm in a meeting with parents and they're all talking about their son or daughter's disability, I will say, Charlie never took a step in his life. He never said a word in his life. He was legally blind. He didn't toilet himself. He didn't feed himself. He had autistic characteristics. And the room goes silent. And then I say, on the other hand, He was charming and loving and lovable. He made friends easily. He had a beautiful smile. He taught me to love opera, which is a heavy lift. The man really liked to have one opera every day. He didn't like the Russians, God bless him. He only liked the Italians. He had a sense of humor that would light up a room. He knew when something funny was about to happen, and he would often start laughing before it happened. I don't know how he did that, but he was a joy to live with. He, however, at about age 26, decided it was not a joy to live with his mom and dad now that his two brothers were out of the house. So when his assistant, Nate, brought him home at night, Charlie would go over to the front door and bang on the back of the front door, which can only mean one thing. It means, get me out of here. I don't want to live with these old people anymore. And so I tried to respond to that, and Charlie did end up having a house that was designed for him and two other roommates. It was an interesting house because it was designed physically as a space for people with autistic characteristics and wheelchair users. So that was really important. Home is home. And once he moved into that house, he didn't want to spend the night with us anymore. It took me a while to figure out it was because in that house he could go wherever he wanted to and scoot his own wheelchair around, and that was it. I learned from Charlie as soon as I stopped, you talk about trauma, as soon as I stopped suffering from the process of diagnosis and moved myself from the floor where I was crying all day up onto the couch where I was crying all day, and then I realized, if you can make that change, maybe you can make some other changes. And then I started to learn from Charlie. I can't tell you how valuable the learning is. Well, I probably don't need to tell you. Probably everyone in this room knows the value of learning to support another human being and the value of learning to be supported with dignity. When Charlie was maybe about 17, we needed to hire a new person to be a support worker for him, and the woman who had been his support worker had moved into the management role. And we did the interviews in our house because Charlie had to be there for the interviews, and we had a succession. I think there were 4 guys who came in to be interviewed, and at the end of the interview I said, well, okay, anybody except that guy. And she said, why not that guy? And I said, well, he grew up on the grounds of Beatrice, the big state institution in Nebraska. He was a football player in college. He played rugby after he graduated from college. I just don't think he's the right match. And she said, well, too bad, that's who Charlie chose. And I said, well, what do you mean that's who Charlie chose? Charlie doesn't speak for himself. And she said, didn't you pay attention? She said, when we were interviewing, that was the only person that Charlie scooted his chair over and patted him on the arm. And that means, I want this guy. And that was probably the second best assistant that Charlie ever had, because he took no crap from Charlie. Charlie couldn't pretend that he was incapable or unable with Zach. Zach would be like, just don't start sandbagging me, man. I want you to do this, you're gonna do it. Charlie had a guy, Nate, who worked with him for 13 years. Unbelievable, but true. His dear partner, Nate, now is in Pittsburgh and still doing direct support. Nate spoke at Charlie's funeral and said, everyone thinks I worked for Charlie, but we were co-workers. The two of us could go into any space. We went to the Kennedy Center usually at least 3 times a month. We went to church, we went out into the community, we went to Starbucks where we hung around and looked at girls. First clue how to get a girlfriend, hang around and look at girls. We went swimming. Every place we went, we made it inclusive. And I couldn't do it without him, and he couldn't do it without me. And so we were coworkers. That meant the most to me at the funeral. 350 people at the funeral, I probably knew half of them. And mommies are sometimes taught that we are responsible to engineer our child's lives. And I really thought at the funeral I would know everyone because I would have engineered it all. Pfft. I only knew half of them. And the other half were people who knew Charlie from the swimming pool, or a guy at the mall who Charlie would go there during the day to get piano lessons at the piano store. And nobody else was hanging around in the piano store, so the guy running the store said, "Sure, I'll teach you piano." I think it was mostly bam, 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 but he made noise. He was joyful in his piano playing. People that Charlie knew from all over the area, from all over the community. What that taught me, again, I was still learning from Charlie after his sudden death, after my sudden loss. He lived his life. It was his life. It wasn't my life. It wasn't my responsibility to make him happy. It was his ability to to roll up and say, here's what makes me happy. I want to tell you one more story. Here's how Charlie got inclusive education when he was 7 years old. I had worked to get him from a segregated school that did Head Start and quote, wheelchairs in Minneapolis into finally a classroom segregated for children with disabilities in the same school that my older son went to. So I walked down the hall to the second grade teacher and said, "Hey, Charlie's 7, he's in that classroom now. I know you do story time after lunch, and he loves stories. He loves to hear people's voices and hear the kids react. Could he come down and just do story time with you after lunch?" And she said, "Sure, no problem." I get a phone call at my desk 2 weeks later. "Sue, it's Joan, I need a favor." And I thought, God darn it. You couldn't even handle story time after lunch. You know, I'm a parent advocate. I'm used to things falling apart. And she said, "I need a favor. The kids don't want him to go back to that little room. They think it's sad. Would it be okay with you if he stays all afternoon?" And I already had my marketing MBA by that time, so I said, "Joan, as a favor to you, he can stay all afternoon." And then she called me 2 more weeks on and said, "The kids think he would like to be here in the morning because we do science in the morning. Would it be okay if he just came with us all day long?" Again, doesn't walk, doesn't talk, autistic behaviors, moans when he's bored, legally blind, you name it. She was just welcoming because the kids were welcoming. And so that's another lesson that I have taken over time, which is good support is support that doesn't put the support between the person and their community. It allows the person to have the direct contact with the community so that when they die, it will be their life that they lived. And so that you can go back to the mommy and say, "We are learning some things from your son. Thank you so much for your interest in Listen, Include, Respect." And for the guidelines, those were developed in consultation with 1,500 organizations around the world. And you are part of the world. Sometimes if you ask Americans, well, what is international work? They'll tell you, oh, it's when you go to sub-Saharan Africa, or you go to Latin America, or this is international work. This is work that brings examples of good ideas and good approaches and good practice to the world. This is international work. You are globally important because of what you are doing. Listen, Include, Respect isn't another compliance measure that you have to meet. I know what Medicaid rules look like. I know what special education rules look like. Nobody wants compliance. You go out for lunch and the waiter comes to you and says, "What would you like for lunch?" And you say, "I don't care, but it better not have any bugs in it." That's compliance. What would delight you? What do you feel like today? What works for you? Those are the questions that we need to be asking. It's a gift to have an opportunity to do that with another human being on both sides. It's a gift for the person being supported and for the person doing the support. I hope you'll give yourselves that gift, because I do think you change the world when you do it. The mommies who just got a diagnosis and don't know what it means, who are out in the community and they see you with your support team, and suddenly their eyes open about what might be possible. Or the sibling who has been trying to find a way to talk to their parent about, hey, we need to get our brother into a better situation. They see you out in the world, and they see the way you are supporting people with dignity, and they see your own dignity. That changes the world. That's the only way we can change the world. We can't make rules and force them. All we can do is show what's possible. So that's what I'm grateful for that you are doing, and speaking only for children who are not yet born and mommies who don't yet know what they're dealing with. I feel confident in saying that the work that you are doing here at Keystone, together with people with disabilities, not just for people with disabilities, that is going to change the world. And I will do everything I can from my position at Inclusion International to make sure that your example is fully understood everywhere I go. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, I'm Chuck Sweeter, and I'm the CEO of Keystone, and I get the very difficult task of following not just Sue Swenson, but all of the other wonderful speakers that were here tonight. So I'll try to wrap it up. I took some notes along the way. But first of all, I want to start out by saying thank you to all who made this event possible, and thank you to all who are attending here tonight. This is always such an amazing and just a positive event, and tonight is another example of that. Our theme tonight was building partnerships and connections, and as I just do a quick scan of the room here, you can really see that when you look at this room. You see, people who accept our supports. You see Keystone Human Services staff. And that's not, our central staff. That is staff from all across Keystone. That is staff from all of our different services here at Keystone. And we also, we have board members here tonight. We have leaders of associations here tonight. And we have our international partner organizations here tonight. And really, in that building partnerships and connections piece, you asked the question of how do we do that? What's the best way to do it? And I think both Dorothy and Sue in their speeches talked about something as simple as asking questions. And really, that is where we learn, and that is where we receive feedback. And that is where we show people that we care. And that is also where we improve. So at Keystone, we just ventured into a new strategic plan that we have started in 2025. And so what I want to make sure is that we take the momentum that we saw here tonight. And as Jordan mentioned, taking this feeling of empowerment, and then also many of the uplifting stories that we heard here tonight, and committing to continuing on this journey and learning from and with our partners all along the way. So thank you very much for coming tonight. We were going to have a reception. Look forward to catching up with everyone in there. And again, thank you. This was an amazing event. Thank you all for attending.